No chalkboard today?
Who? Yeah, no chalkboard today.
Someone like,
We we finished that series last week.
okay.
So today we're going to talk about something that pretty much falls right in line with the discussion in the Sunday school, where we talked a little bit about patience. So this will fall in line with that in some ways. So we're going to turn to Matthew chapter 16. And we will commence reading at verse 24. Matthew chapter 16, beginning at the 24th verse. Are you there? Here's what it says. Then said Jesus unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him what?
Deny themselves.
And do what?
Take up their cross and follow me.
And do what? And follow me. If any man will come after me, he's got to meet three requirements. There are three prerequisites to following Christ, and he has outlined them in this 24th verse. The denial of self, the taking up of one's cross, and lastly, he says what? Follow me. Verse 25, for whosoever will save his life, ultimately will lose it. And whosoever will lose his life for Christ's sake will do what?
Find it.
Shall find it. Verse 26, for what is a man profited if he gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? So I'm not going to give any title to the text because I don't want to box myself in with what we're going to be talking about. But that's what we're going to be discussing today. These three prerequisites, because in life, in humanity, in our world, in our culture, and in our society, one of the most difficult things for us to do, aside from exercising patience, one of the most difficult things for us to do as a people, as humanity, is to deny self. So to give us some context to the scripture, prior to the text, Jesus has had a conversation with his disciples, and he has posed the question, who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? And of course, several different answers were given. Some said that he was John the Baptist incarnate. Some said that he was Elijah. Some said that he was Jeremiah. Others said that he might be one of the prophets. So Peter, Jesus asked the question again in a more personal way, and he says, who do you say that I am? Peter answers up, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. Jesus says to him, flesh and blood could not have revealed that to you, but my Father which is in heaven. So he says to Peter, that upon this rock, right, I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Then he goes into an explanation of his own impending death. how he must go on the cross, he must suffer many things, and that he's going to die for the sins of the world. And the same Peter who just said, "Thou art Christ, the Son of the living God," the same Peter who had gotten that revelation, the same Peter who knew it and understood it, sticks his foot in his mouth. And Peter was pretty good for that. He'd have a great moment, and right on the heels of that great moment, he'd stick his foot in his mouth. And he does that prior to the text. So Jesus is talking about his impending death on the cross, how he's going to suffer all of these many things, that he's going to be taken before the chief priests and the scribes and the elders, and he's going to be crucified on the cross. And Peter opens up his big mouth, inserts his foot, and says, Peter said to him, "Be it far from thee, Lord. This shall not be unto thee." It's not going to happen. You're Christ. You're the Messiah. You're the only begotten of the Father. This can't be. And Jesus responds in that 23rd verse. He says, "Get thee behind me, Satan." He refers to Peter as Satan. "Get thee behind me, Satan. Thou art an offense unto me. For thou savorest not the things that be of God, but that be of man." And that's where we pick it up in the 21st verse. He says, "If any man will come after me." He chastises and rebukes Peter because Peter's mind, Peter's thought, Peter's desires and intent did not line up with the will of God. Because to do God's will, there must be the denial, the giving up, the laying down of self. We cannot follow Christ. We cannot do the will of God. We cannot do the will of the Father unless we are willing to deny self. That's the first requirement in the text. That if any man will come after me, he must first what? Deny himself. Denial, right? Denial of one's own interests, one's own needs. It is self-sacrifice. Denial involves the voluntary act of relinquishing personal desires and ambitions to follow Christ. That's the biblical definition of denial. It involves the voluntary act of relinquishing personal desires and ambitions to follow Christ. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, you have to lay down you. You have to be willing to deny self. You have to be willing to give up your dreams, your goals, your ambitions, your desires, your agenda, your plan. It is the total relinquishing of the whole man. Mind, body, soul, and spirit. We must be willing to deny ourselves. Hard to do in our world, hard to do in our culture, because we've been taught all of our lives that it's about us, right? That's what we've been taught. That's what culture, that's what society teaches us. That this is your life, this is about you and what you want and what you want to achieve and what you want to accomplish and what you want to have and what you want to do and what you want to be and what you want to become. We've been taught that all of our lives, that life is about us, and we fight and scratch and claw and contend to hold on to that. That I can't give up me because my life is about me. So why would I willingly submit to the authority and to the will of another when my life is about me? This is my life. This is my world. Everything revolves around me. I'm the center of it. It's what I want. It's what I feel I need. It's what I desire. It's what I crave. it's self-satisfaction, it's self-gratification, it's self-idealization, right? Self-glorification, self-edification, everything that I can do to build me up, it's about me. And I'm not willing to relinquish that. I'm not willing to give that up. I'm not willing to part with that because mama said, and daddy said, and grandmama and them, and the teacher said, and the professor said that my life is about me.
Isn't it funny how some people say, how can you believe in something you don't see?
Yeah. But that first requirement is denial of self. Willingly laying down. We have to lay down, right? So that God can stand up in us. Every day, ladies and gentlemen, you should be given a eulogy. You should be attending a funeral every day. Whose funeral am I talking about? Your own. God gave it to me this way a few weeks ago, that today is a good day to die. Every day you should be dying to self. Every day you should be eulogizing, putting to death you. Another scripture in Romans puts it this way: mortify the deeds of the flesh. That word mortify means to kill. It means to put to death. So every day we should be dying to self. Christ gave us the perfect example. Not my will, but thy will be done. It's the denial of self. All right, that word deny in the Greek is aparneomai, right? Aparneomai. That means to deny, right? It's an action verb in the text, meaning we have to do something, right? To forget oneself, to lose sight of oneself and one's own interest. To lose sight of oneself and one's own interest. To forget one's self, because to follow Christ, you have to forget about you. If you're going to be his disciple, if you're going to follow him, you have to forget about you. Right? It's the giving up of something. Peter and John were fishermen. Jesus came walking by and said, "Follow me." They dropped their nets and they began to follow. It's the denial of self. Luke was a physician. He gives up his practice to go and follow Christ. Matthew was a tax writer. He leaves the IRS to go and follow Christ. So if we're going to make that decision to be a follower of Christ, the first requirement, the first prerequisite is that we have to be willing to deny self. You got to learn how to tell yourself no. That's what it is. You were growing up and mama took us to the grocery store and we saw those great and wonderful things that we thought we wanted or thought we needed, and we would say, "Hey, mama, can I have that?" Boy, you don't need that. No, you can't have that. And when it comes to denying of self, we have to be willing and comfortable with telling ourselves, no. You can't have it. You can't have him. You can't have her. You can't have this. You can't have that. Not if you're going to be Christ's disciple. You got to be willing to say no. You got to be willing to tell ourselves no. Second requirement. If any man will come after me, first, he's got to learn, he's got to be willing to deny himself. But secondly, he's got to take up something called a cross. What do we think that means? Taking up your cross. What does that mean?
Taking up your own, taking responsibility for your own, the things that you do.
Okay, good answer. Right. Any others? What does it mean when Jesus tells us not only are we required to deny ourselves, but now we're being asked to take up a cross?
Willing to die for Jesus.
Right.
Ah,
Yes.
willing
That's
to
what he did with the
die.
cross. He died for us.
Ah, willing to die for Jesus. He says, take up your cross and follow me. Now, probably in many of our houses, we have crosses on our wall. Many wear cross for jewelry. But the cross, ladies and gentlemen, is a gruesome symbol. It's a symbol of pain and agony. A symbol of death, crucifixion, and execution. Because that was a method borrowed, right, by the Greeks and the Romans. They borrowed this method of execution from the Phoenicians. And they took that from the Phoenicians and they began to practice that as their means of capital punishment. That's what the cross symbolizes. I know we tend to view it in another light as a symbol of our freedom, as a symbol of God's great forgiveness and mercy and grace, but ultimately the cross is a gruesome symbol. It was a form of capital punishment. In our world, in our culture, we had the gas chamber, then we came up with the electric chair, and now we have death by lethal injection. But in that day, the form of execution was crucifixion on the cross. And now, you and I, if we're going to be Christ's disciples, not only are we asked to give up ourselves, to deny ourselves, but now we have the added responsibility of taking up this burden, in a sense, taking up this cross, which symbolizes and ties into the denial of self. That cross means you have to be self-sacrificing. Ties right back into denial. Self-sacrificing. That cross represents our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ being self-sacrificing, giving up himself, giving up his life so that you and I could live. That's what it means to take up your cross. It means to be self-sacrificing. It means that you must be willing, if it comes down to it, to lay down your life. Now, every man and every husband in here is called to do that anyway. In Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. So if it comes down to it, Kenny, you should be willing to die for Marty. Dusty should be willing to die for Carol. John should be willing to die for Susan. I should be willing to die for Sinatra. That's what it means to take up your cross. The third prerequisite, if any man will come after me, first he's got to deny himself. Right? He's got to be willing to take the back seat. He's got to be willing to put himself on the back burner. He's got to be willing to make himself of no reputation. That takes humility. Because again, we're taught that this is about me. So it's the denial of self, it's the taking up of one's cross through self-sacrificing attitude and character and behavior. And then the last requirement, the last prerequisite, if you want to be Christ's disciple, that you must be willing to follow. Everybody wants to be the leader. Everybody wants to be in charge. Nobody wants to follow. Everybody wants to be a chief. Nobody wants to be the Indian. We want to be in charge. We want to be in control. We want to call the shots. We want all of the power. We want all of the authority. We want the title, the position, and the status. We want to be leaders, but we don't want to follow. And you can't lead effectively until you first learn to follow effectively. If you notice, taking up your cross and following him tie right back into deny yourself. Because to deny myself, I have to be self-sacrificing. To deny myself means that I have to be a good follower. So all of it ties right back into the first requirement, to the first prerequisite, and that is the denial of self. So when we examine the fruit, if we call ourselves disciples, if we call ourselves followers of Christ, then I should see in you the denial of self. I should see in you your willingness to take up your cross, and I should see in you your willingness to be a follower. If you don't have those three spiritual attributes, I submit this morning, you are not Christ's disciple. Because he's already made it plain that if any man, that's open to everybody. If is a conjunction in the event or in case of this or that. If any man has a desire to come after me, he's got to meet these three requirements. In other words, you can't follow Christ on your terms. You can't follow Christ doing it your way. You can't be his disciple if you're not willing to submit. Because God sets the standard. God determines what the rules are, what the requirements are, and if you're going to get down with the Jesus crew, you got to do these three things. Remember the members only jacket? Yeah. This is for members only. If you want to be a part of this club, you're going to have to do these three things. You're going to have to forget about you. That's hard for some folk to do. Because we're so arrogant, we're so prideful, we're so conceited and self-absorbed, and everything has got to be about us. And if people aren't talking about us, and if people aren't singing our praises, and if people aren't calling our name, and if we're not receiving all of the recognition and all of the accolades, if they're not pumping us up and building us up and lifting us up, we got a problem. So it's hard for some people to deny themselves. It's hard for folks to take up their cross, and it's hard for people to be followers. But Jesus said, if you're going to roll with me, if you're going to be down with me, if you're going to be my disciple, here's the requirement. Give up you. That's what you got to do. Give up you. Take up this cross. Come follow me. Because by trying to save and preserve your life, guess what's going to happen? You're going to lose it. Isn't that what we do? We fight and strive and struggle and contend and grapple and wrestle with trying to hold on to our life. We're going in this direction, and God is pulling us in this direction. And it's literally like what you see on the cartoon. You see the little drag marks where God is pulling you and tugging on you, but you're fighting to go in that direction. God is saying, no, I need you over here. That's what our life looks like played out. That fight, that struggle, that contention to hold on to a life that we think we want. Because we don't want the life that Christ desires for us. We don't want a life of denying ourselves. We don't want a life of taking up our cross. We don't want a life of having to follow him because we're God. Because we call the shots. Because it's about what I want. It's about what I think I deserve. It's about the life that they told me I could have. Eat this fruit and you will be like. So we're trying to have God's status. Why should I follow him when I can be my own God? I can call the shots. I can dictate how my life goes. I'm making these choices. I'm making these decisions. I'm grown. I'm an adult. Nobody can tell me anything. I'm not in my parents' house anymore. I'm not in my grandparents' house anymore. I'm grown. I can do life the way that I want to do life. I don't have to submit to anybody. I don't have to follow anybody. I don't have to come up under anybody's authority. I can do this all on my own because I'm the man. I'm the woman. I'm a boss. I'm an alpha female. This is my life. I can do this my way. That's what we think. So we won't deny self. We're sure not thinking about taking up a cross. I mean, I got to be willing to sacrifice me. I got to give up me, but I like me. I like me. I'm in love with me. I'm my best company. No other company I'd rather be in than my own company. I can't give up me. I like me. I like my life. I like being large and in charge. I like being a man. I can't give that up. take up this cross, this emblem of agony and shame, because they would make convicted criminals carry their own cross. Where's the fun in that, Jesus? How am I making out? Seems like you're the one benefiting. I got to give up me. I got to take up this cross. I got to follow you. What am I getting out of all of that? So he says that, look, you keep fighting and struggling to hold on to life, you're going to lose it. So what's it going to profit you to gain the whole world, to gain the fame, the popularity, the notoriety, the prestige, to gain all of the money, the wealth, the riches, to gain a title and status and position and all of these things, houses, cars, and land? You gain all of that stuff just to end up losing your soul. But that's what we do. We chase. Always running after something. Some people spend a lifetime chasing. Gotta get this, gotta get that, gotta have this, gotta have that. And it ain't gonna never satisfy. Because just as soon as you get it, it's not gonna be enough. Now you're gonna be chasing something else. And when you get that, that ain't gonna be enough. And then you're gonna go chase something else. And when you get that, that's not gonna be enough. Then you're gonna have to go chasing after something else. And when you get that, it ain't gonna be enough. Then you're gonna have to go chasing after something else. And so we spend a lifetime, in some cases, from birth to the grave, chasing. A life that has no life in it. Because only Christ can give you life. So we're chasing a life that has no life in it. It has no life in it because Christ is not in it. That's why he says that if you fight to hold on to that, you're going to lose it. Because Satan will let you get it. He just won't let you keep it. He ain't got no problem with you getting it. He'll let you get that little bit of money. He'll let you get that little bit of street credibility. He'll let you get that little house and that little car with the 20-inch spinners on there. He'll let you get iced out. He'll let you get the money. He just won't let you keep it. Because he'll lead you out there. But then guess what? He'll leave you out there. There's no life without Christ. But we chase that. And he said, you're chasing after that for what? Just to gain the whole world and be lost in the end? Paul said it this way, that I don't want to have preached to others and drawn them to Christ and be a castaway myself. I done traveled here and traveled there, been preaching here, been preaching there, got locked up for it, got beaten for it, shipwrecked for it, snake bitten for it, went through all of that to teach and to preach the gospel to others just to end up on the outside looking in. That's the principle that Jesus wants us to get, that you can fight and struggle all you want to get the life that you think you want, but you're going to lose it in the end. So what's it going to profit for you to gain the whole world and end up losing your soul? So in closing, again, if you want to be down with the Jesus crew, if you want to be his disciple, you got to give up you. Take up your cross his headship, his lordship, his will, his desire, his way. And he gave us a perfect example in the Garden of Gethsemane. That if there is another way, if there's another recourse, if there's another option, I'll take it. Nevertheless,